My name is Matthew Vucetich. I was born May 4th, 1987. I'm 32 years old and I'm a cancer survivor. In my high school days, I was always the chunky friend who really didn't care about health or how I looked until one day I looked in the mirror and I wasn't happy for what I saw. I was discomforted, it wasn't me. So I started working out, started training, started dieting and leaning out, losing weight and pushing my body to the extreme limit. I wanted to keep going and going and going. So one day I decided, you know what, I want to try this bodybuilding. Seeing it in magazines, seeing it on videos, you just, what if? And just put my mind to it and I started training. I started training harder, I started pushing harder. I had many supporters in my life. The one supporter who was always there for me was my brother, Andrew.
Happy birthday to you.
My brother was always proud. Everyone was proud, but my brother was just, me and my brother had this connection where everything he said to me made me even push harder, made me even strive harder, do the best I could do, give it 150%. You can only train so much naturally. You can only get so big naturally. So then I started researching about steroids. I started looking into video. I started just, your mind wanders, eh? And I'm like, what if? So they call it the dark side. The dark side, I started using steroids. I started using growth hormone. I started using testosterone. I started using DECA. I started using equipoise. I used a lot of steroids to get to where I wanted to be physically. And there was it's not a bad thing, but you have to watch it and you have to monitor it. But at the same time, you pushed your body to a certain limit naturally. And then that's when I wanted to get more, bigger, more leaner, faster, and I wanted to win. But at the time when I was training for this show, my brother got sick. He was diagnosed with cancer. And it kind of took me a step back in my life. My life was on hold, let's say. And I had a big decision because it happened as I was training and I was prepping for this show. But I knew my brother, he always said, just do it. I want you to do it. Just keep going. And I took time off work just to be with him. And it was hard mentally, even physically, just to train when days like when he wasn't there with me. But I remember as I was training, it was a 16-week process. But as I was training, he was there with me. Even though he wasn't there physically with me, he was in the hospital, but I knew he was there with me. Every time I'd train, I'd work out, I'd finish my workout, I'd go see him at the hospital. And I remember talking to him and he would say, you know what, I'm gonna be there in the crowd when you step on stage, you're gonna look amazing. I go, you know what, I just wanted him to get better. That was my main goal. But at the same time, it pushed me to work harder at the gym, harder, stronger. I wanted to be the best. So I did the Stratford show. It was my first show and my brother passed away. And it was a difficult time, very, very difficult for me emotionally. When you're training for a show, it's so emotional. And especially when I knew my brother wasn't there physically, but spiritually he was there. I remember stepping on stage for the first time, just the nerves. But I knew he was looking down at me. I placed second for that show, and after that, I wanted to go further and further into bodybuilding. It just made me more and more dedicated.
In second, Matthew Vucetich.
Because of my brother. My brother was my rock, and he still is my rock. He always looks down at me, and I always wanted to make him proud. And you know what? To this day, seeing what he went through, I can't explain it. I can't even. He was strong. He was loved by everyone, but he made me push myself even further after that show. And I got into another bodybuilding. I did 2 more shows after that, and it just made me want to get more and more involved in the health and the physical change of my body. Then I recently two and a half years ago, I was diagnosed on my 30th birthday. I was diagnosed with Burkitt's lymphoma.
What'd you say to me? What'd you say to me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Ma, give it to me.
Beg.
Ma,
Beg.
give it to me. One day I started feeling very sick. I started feeling sharp pains in my stomach, and I thought it was my appendix, but it turned out it wasn't, because your appendix is lower than where I was feeling. I went to the hospital. They did X-ray, they did CAT scan, they did an ultrasound, which finally showed a tumor that was in my bowels, and I had to go for rush surgery because it was ready to erupt. So I went for rush surgery. Then I woke up with a big scar. It was 40 staples in my stomach, and that wasn't fun. It was pretty painful. So I went through the process of recovering in the hospital at General. I was there for about a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and I'm packing up. It was basically, I was leaving. I wanted to try and time it to leave for my birthday, and I was leaving on my birthday, and we're ready to pack up leaving. And then the doctor's like, family meeting. We have a big family meeting. I'm like, what's up? Sits us down. He's like, the tumor came back, biopsy. It's a Burkitt's lymphoma, type of blood cancer, and it was a big shock. It just you don't know how to take news that when you're diagnosed with that type of cancer. So I went home, researched. You know what I mean? It's not always the best thing to research, but you know, you kind of have the better knowledge. So I had to go for my checkup. I went to the Javinsky Hospital. I had my oncologist tell me basically it's a very aggressive cancer, and if you don't get help, chemo, no radiation, just a chemo, I had 4 months to live. And that was another shock. This all happened on my 30th birthday. Like, it was just like boom, 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 boom. It was like when it rains, it pours. So on top of that, I needed a bone marrow test to see if the cancer spread to my bone marrow. That was one painful experience. Thank God it was clear. There was nothing in my bone marrow. But at this type of cancer I had, the chemo, they needed to do spinal taps, which means they had to inject chemo into my spine. So they had to pull fluid out of my spine to check the fluid, it was clear, and then inject it chemo into my spine. I had that done 9 times, and that was another experience that I would never want to do again. It was very painful, but I'm glad that at the end of the day, my bone marrow was clear, because if it wasn't, I'd have to get a lot more of those in my spine. So at the time when I was going through, I seen what my brother went through, and it was difficult. It was honestly, like, it did not hit me until I was placed in Javinsky, until I sat there and I had my first round of chemo. Mentally and physically it drained you, but because what I went through with my brother and the training for the bodybuilding, mentally, it made me stronger, if that makes any sense. Your mindset is totally different. You have to be positive 24/7. You can't have little things bother you in life. You always have to have that positive mindset. If you don't have the positive mindset, you know what, on one day of chemo or if you're doing a round, it can knock you down, and it knock you down to shit, basically. But I knew my brother was there with me. I had 4 rounds of chemo, 4 rounds, which the 4th round was the hardest. But knock on wood, I'm cleared. It's been 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. After the 4 rounds of chemo, I was monitored until my platelets and my numbers came up. And then once they came up, they finally sent me home. I was in the hospital for approximately almost 6.5 months. Once I was home, everything little by little, eating normal foods, getting my hair back, all that process started gradually. But the patience and just not me training as well was very difficult. But after knock on wood, after I was cured, for the time being of that cancer, they told me you had to watch still, you had to be careful, you had to monitor yourself. So I was going for checkups every 3 months. Now I'm on every 6 months. But at that time when I got out, I really didn't care about health again. I didn't care about the training. I did miss it, but my mindset wasn't in that. So I basically ate whatever I wanted again. So I became that chunky friend in high school again. And to a point where I wasn't happy. I wasn't happy with myself again. So last year I started a New Year's resolution. It was funny because I'm like, yeah, everyone does these things, and then a couple weeks ago, we just fall off the bandwagon. But I finally started training again. I have a home gym, and the thing is, I walk by it every day. So I started dieting. I started training again. I started losing the weight fast. It's all muscle memory, and it all came back faster and faster, especially at my age. Then I got addicted to it again. But this time I wanted to train naturally. I wanted to, I said, I'm going to push my body to the extreme limit, doing it my way. And it's been over a year and a half, and I can't be even more happier with myself where I've come. And at the end of the day, I look back at everything I've been through at the age of 32, my obstacles in my life. It's like, it's made me for who I am now. It's why I'm the way I am, and I'm just determined to be better and better every day. And I miss my brother every day. It does not change. I wish he was here. I know he's up there looking down at me every day, and he's very proud of who I've become. And I will meet up with him one day again. But I just want everyone to know, everyone in life has an obstacle. You have to choose how you want to beat that. Just remember to stay strong, be positive, and always have a great support group. Family is key. Family is number one. I'm Matthew Vucetich. I'm a cancer survivor. God bless everyone. Peace out.